because we have so much to cover today, I am actually going to start. I know there'll be people coming in a bit later on, but we're gonna crack on with everything, and so that we can make sure all the information is imparted during this webinar time we have. Who am I anyway? My name is Abigail Stevens, and I'm the founder and managing director of Think Global Recruitment. I'm a keen fun runner. I like going to the gym and an international rugby supporter, but overall, I love to travel. I've been to over 53 different countries and literally just returned to Scotland this week from 7 weeks away in the UAE, Australia, and New Zealand, where I've been meeting with companies we work with and people we've helped move to these locations, which has been quite exciting. I've got 30 years experience of assisting accountants to move globally and hand experience of doing that myself. Passionate about living and working overseas and assisting others to do that. It not only gives you fantastic work experience, but it helps you grow as a person, increases your confidence, and gives you the opportunity to experience different cultures. For life, you will make new friends that will go on to live in different locations across the world. And then when you want to travel again to different locations, you will be able to go and visit them. It's all very exciting. Why are we doing this? Well, mine and Think Global Recruitment's purpose is all about improving lives. That's why we run a monthly webinar, so we can give something back to accountants, and also so that we can give you that opportunity to have all the information you possibly need in making a decision about making an international move. So each month we cover a different topic, and some will be on the skills and getting noticed as well. So watch out for them. At the end, I'll be telling you about the next two that we've got. We've assisted more than 2,000 professionals to move to over 63 different countries. And we're going to be 25 years old this year. So that's 25 years of Think Global Recruitment, building up reputations and networks with many companies across the globe. We assist people from all areas of accountancy, including audit, tax, risk, cybersecurity, corporate finance, corporate recovery, financial accounting, fund accounting, compliance, advisory, you name it. We've done that. And of those 63 different countries that we help people to move to, we've also helped 43 different nationalities to move, and over 148 different companies they've moved to. So the networks are great and ever increasing. What are we going to cover today? Okay, so today we're going to talk about last year, what were the most popular countries that people went to and why. We're going to have a look at things to consider when you're choosing a location, and that will include things like the sort of job offers, visas, things to think about, and really get yourself geared up to make sure you're making the right decisions and to the right places. And we're also going to talk about the predictions of where we'll be recruiting in 2025 and when. The most valuable part of the session, I believe, for most people, rather than just listening to me, is the opportunity you have to ask questions. So you can start putting them from now on in the Q&A section. Please just go ahead and do that as we go. And at the end, I'm going to be joined by Tyrone and Alicia to answer those questions that you have that have been burning on the international recruitment market. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about 2024. We've seen strong global mobility among qualified accountants who are seeking an international career move for various reasons. Some do it for higher salaries, career progression, better work-life balance, improved quality of life. But based on recent trends, the top destinations for accountants looking to work abroad last year included the United Kingdom and Ireland. They're both prime locations, particularly for those coming from South Africa, Australia. We saw lots of people come from North America and various other locations. London remains to be a global financial hub, while Dublin offers tax incentives and a strong tech sector and a vibrant international business scene. Although it should be noted that there was less appetite from employers in the UK to sponsor overseas applicants for working visas last year. However, the offshore islands, such as Guernsey, Jersey, and the Isle of Man, they've been popular for their financial services sector, short commutes to work, a safe working environment, proximity to the UK and mainland Europe, UK and Europe, in fact, and indeed they would offer sponsorship. So they've all been hotspots. Australia and New Zealand saw a strong demand in audit and advisory roles. Both countries offer excellent salaries, relaxed lifestyle, and favourable working visas for skilled professionals. Australia's major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane were particularly appealing, although we've also assisted accountants to move to Adelaide, Perth, and Darwin for a better work-life balance. While New Zealand attracts those also looking for a balanced lifestyle with high professional and lifestyle standards. Also popular in 2024, Bermuda and the Caribbean. A choice for accountants seeking tax-free earnings, of course, international exposure, and tropical lifestyle. Bermuda remains a key hub for financial services, particularly in insurance and reinsurance. And the Cayman Islands, Bahamas also attract those specializing in funds, audit, and financial services. We've also assisted accountants to move to a number of other islands, such as Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, BVI's, etc. So don't forget those islands. They have also a lot to offer. The United Arab Emirates, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Dubai continues to be a hotspot of choice for accountants seeking strong earning potential and tax-free environment. Its growing financial services sector, international business scene, and luxurious lifestyle make it a top destination, especially for advisory and corporate finance. We're seeing a little bit less on the audit side in that region. Europe. Okay. So the hotspots in Europe in 2024 was the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Germany, and Malta. European financial hubs remain to be in high demand, particularly for accountants specializing in funds, investment banking, and multinational corporations. Luxembourg's fund industry and the Netherlands' international business appeal. The Switzerland's got the high salaries and they offer amazing, attractive options. Others have been lured to sunny Malta to gain European experience in a more laid-back and setting and environment. Canada and US was a popular request, but the market remains, whilst it remains a choice for accountants, it's really competitive and visas are hard to obtain. Those who've moved there generally in 2024 had gone through internal transfer route. Okay, that's a bit of a sweep of 2024. Let's have a look and have a think about if you're now thinking about making a move in 2025, what should you be considering? Whether this is your first, second, or third international move, there's always a lot to consider when choosing a location. We will guide you through the truths of each location and as to whether it is going to be suitable for you. However, we always urge you to do your own research. Here are some things to consider. We're going to cover all of these things from motivations to what do you want to get from the move, thinking about that. Will you realistically get that? What locations and skills are needed? Family considerations, what you're leaving behind, logistics for your move, and the cost of the move. Let's go into some of these in more detail, shall we? Okay, so first of all, we've got motivations. These are questions that I think you should be asking yourself if you're thinking about making an international move. We indeed will also ask you these. The first is, what is motivating you to make the move? The next is that motivation a long-term one or just how you feel this week? I.e., are you fed up with the weather and you want to make a move, or your current boss, or something in your personal life? Whilst it's true that you can improve these things by moving, you should also be asking yourself, will that be enough to make you happy in the long term? It's not about what you're running from, it's what you're running to. So what is it that appeals to you positively about making an international move? When we interview accountants seeking a move, we'll always ask them what they're seeking from the move. I'd say about 80% of the people I meet were originally considering a different location to the one they end up in. I'll repeat that, about 80% of the people I meet were considering a different location to the one they end up in. It may be that what you thought you would get in one location is not actually what you will get there. However, there is another location you can get that from. So we will be talking to you about those motivations again and helping you work out whether that location will give you that. For example, many ask to move to the UAE because it's tax-free, thinking they're going to make big savings. However, they've not taken into account the high cost of living that will absorb that benefit. We never recommend that you move for money. Salaries are set in accordance to cost of living across the globe, and it's rare to find somewhere that you will make big savings. More realistic reasons for making a move is for better or different work experience, to experience different cultures, to see different parts of the world, to be near family and friends, or indeed it might be the weather. Us Brits are always moving for the weather. Okay, so we can advise when we meet with you, if we're working with you, if you're actually going to get what you are seeking in that location you're considering. Generally, when it comes to money, we suggest you look at the cost of renting a house and your tax, because they're the biggest two things that come off of any salary. However, it should be noted that most employers will offer a realistic salary for you to live off and market rate. If they didn't, you'd simply move on, and they're not going to want to lose somebody that they've gone to all the trouble to move across the globe and provide all of that training and development to. It's all very well to have a desire to move somewhere. However, do you have the right skills that are in demand in that location? For example, for Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, they usually need you to have strong financial service experience. For a move to Malta in audit, they would want you to be used to working with multiple projects at one time rather than just consecutive ones. Most locations require IFRS, but US would want US GAAP and PCOB experience, etc. Please feel free to ask in the Q&A section any specific questions you have about skills needed for your desired location. We're more than happy to answer that today in the Q&A. I couldn't really list all of the skills needed here for each location across the globe, but we will be doing that when we do our worldwide presentation, which is a slightly longer presentation in April. Family. Okay, so if you're single and moving alone, the journey can be a lot easier. However, it is possible to make a smooth move with your family if you do your research. Things to consider are, what is the health system like? Do you need to pay for health insurance for yourself and your family? Do you have money to cover for this if your employer does not? What are schools like? And the cost for your children to attend, they're not always free. Some locations, such as Bermuda, will only let you move with two children maximum because there's just not enough schools there. In some locations, there might be long wait lists for your children to get into a school. Again, we can help advise you on this. We use our expertise to talk to you through who's moving with you and what options there's going to be for these people. Jobs for partners as well is something to consider because you being accountants have chosen the right path that gives you very much a ticket to move across the globe in many cases, but not every profession can do that. Okay, next consideration is what are you leaving behind? How far will you be from your family in terms of time travel? Are you comfortable with that? What will be the time differences for those Zoom catch-ups that you want to do with your family? Will there be times a day that you're going to be able to do that frequently? Also, how will you sort things such as selling or renting out your home, cancelling a rental agreement if you're already renting, paying off debts, etc.? Usually sending money internationally is not cheap, and as salaries are paid according to the cost of living, it isn't always wise to budget to be doing that. Thinking ahead, how you're going to get your rental apartment, can you get references now from previous landlords that you can take with you because you won't have them in the country for them to follow up? Thinking about opening a bank account, should you open one that's internationally going to be available to you in a new location? Or in fact, these days, there's these temporary ones that are online, such as Revolut, that will keep you going until you can open a local bank account. These things can take time when you land, and they normally need you to have permanent accommodation. Talking about permanent accommodation, looking ahead at long-term accommodation option is a good idea. However, it's unlikely that a landlord will sign an agreement with you until you're in the country, and they won't wait for that to happen. So in your budget, you need time for temporary accommodation whilst you seek permanent accommodation. Most places across the globe at the moment are currently reporting a housing crisis. It's not unique to any location. It can take longer for you to find that first long-term place to stay. However, I can tell you, everybody does do it. They will get there. So don't panic. Whilst a number of companies will assist you with some moving costs, not all do, and most won't cover everything. Check before interviewing what is on offer from the package for relocation and what you will need. Many do not cover the cost of your family moving or their visa costs, so you may need to budget for that depending on where you're going. On average, a relocation package will include your flights and a couple of weeks accommodation and your visa costs. However, some of these need to be paid out before you get the job, and you will get paid that back in your first pay packet. So you need to have the funds to cover them, even if it's temporary, waiting to get it back. So access to those funds. Gosh, well, that was a lot to consider, but don't worry though. We're here to assist you. We can help navigate all of this for you while we work with you. When you register with Think Global Recruitment, we become a partner with you in the journey. We're not just here to find you the job. We will be in touch throughout the process, right up to and post start date to make sure everything goes smoothly. Also, I can tell you, one of my favorite parts of my job is that after 6 months of everybody starting their new role, I meet with them, find out how it's all been going. Every accountant we speak to tells us that, yes, there were challenges, definitely. However, it was worth it. And the most common expression I hear is just do it, as advice to other accountants thinking about making this move. I promised to tell you a little bit about 2025 and what we're going to see this year as far as recruitment goes. The year started actually really slowly. January has been extremely quiet. However, February started to get busy, and opportunities, particularly in Australia and New Zealand and some parts of Europe, are taking the lead. We expect to see the UK and offshore islands quite quiet at this time of the year anyway. That's not unusual. However, the UK Channel Islands, Bermuda, Caribbean will all start to get busy again from April onwards. We're still not sure how much appetite there will be from mainland UK with regard to sponsoring this year, with a new government in place and rising employer costs. However, we're optimistic. We'll definitely see more opportunities coming out the Netherlands, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany, France, etc. We believe it will unfortunately get harder, though not easier, to move to the US due to visa restrictions and current government thought path. However, wherever your dream location is, it's never too soon to speak to us, and we can advise on current opportunities or put together an action plan for the future and help you make that dream move. Before we move to Q&As, as promised, I wanted to show you what the next two webinars are going to be. In March, we're going to be covering, again, another part of the Considering International Career Move, but how for you to stand out when you're making that move and when you're getting the application. So we can talk about the experience that people want to know about and other soft things that people are looking for on CVs at the moment that are going to make you stand out. We then have in April the worldwide presentation I mentioned, where we're going to do a sweep around the world and talk about what it's like living and working in all locations across the globe. Please let us know if there's any other ideas or topics that you think we'd be really good to cover. We're more than happy to do that. We will, during the year, no doubt, cover how to make a good CV, application processes, interview techniques, as well as more focused locational covers where we go into regional areas of the world. We also have a number of people we've helped move who will be coming to one of our webinars to tell you what it's like, to give you the chance to hear from someone like yourself that's made the move. So lots of exciting stuff coming up. As promised, today we've got in our Q&A session, Alicia. She's got over 10 years international accountancy and finance recruitment experience. And I'm sure some of you will have met her already and know her. And we've got Tyrone, who's coming up for 3 years international accountancy and finance experience. And again, I'm sure you've seen him on the market or met with him. So the three of us are going to be here to answer your questions. Alicia and Tyrone, can I get you to unmute, and we will start going through the Q&As. This is interesting. Is the Q&A working? Okay. So let's kick off with the first few questions we've got. I'll start. Is someone's nationality considered? Do employers discriminate based on nationality? Employers do not discriminate based on nationality. Some of them may prefer you to have gained work experience in certain locations. So it may be that you're in going to a market that's a large established market like London, and they might say, well, we need somebody to come from a similar large established market. So then you might be better off, more likely to get an opportunity somewhere like Bristol or somewhere like that. So thank you for that question. The next question that we have is, what skill set is required if I am moving to the Netherlands? Interesting. So, Alicia, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, sure, Abigail. So, in the Netherlands, the skill set required would typically be to be a qualified chartered accountant. And our clients would typically also require that one have experience in a similar market or environment, as well as working on large listed group engagements at group level, typically considering PCA or preferring PCOB experience as well. So these are typically some of the key requirements for the Netherlands, and those would be across financial services as well as non-financial services.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely, excellent. Somebody else has said that they're looking at making a move with a family to the UK. What are the costs they should be considering? Ty, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So when moving to the UK, there are a couple of costs that you do need to consider. So again, depending on what the firm sponsors, majority of the firms will only sponsor the main applicant. So that means that the rest of your family would need to, or that cost would then fall onto you. Um, so some of the costs which you can expect, again, depending on what the firm sponsors, but it could be flights. Some of the firms will reimburse those flights. Some firms will cover those costs up front. And then your visa as well. Again, some firms cover those up front. Some firms reimburse that rather. Then you've also got your NHS, which is quite expensive. I believe it has gone up recently. I'm not too sure on what the new amount is. I'm not sure if you've got that handy, Abigail, but you've got your NHS cost, which you also need to consider. And apart from the NHS cost, I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, absolutely. The NHS cost just recently went up, but you have to pay per year of your visa for that
Yes.
one. And and you also have to pay for your family, everybody in the whole yeah, everybody in your family. So the cost for that right now at the moment is £1,035 per year. So it's not cheap. If you've got children under 18, it's 776. Typically the visa years are 2 to 3, so you have to pay all that up front. Some firms will offer you a loan to help you pay it, so an interest-free one, and then you just pay that back out of your salary over the first 2 years. Okay, all right. I'll take the next one here. How hard would it be to find advisory consulting roles in Sydney? Interestingly, that's an area that's been in quite high demand recently, just depending on what you do. But valuations has been in high demand, transaction services have been in high demand, and we have been getting roles along that line. So if that's your background, let me know. Obviously, there's all different areas in advisory and consulting. But if you like to reach out for advisory and consulting roles, that would be myself and Cram and Perry at this moment in time. Okay, all right. Alicia, here's one for you. Do all the job markets require a person to be qualified chartered accountant?
Typically, yes. The main reason for that is due to sponsorship requirements. If one is not a qualified chartered accountant, a firm would typically need to provide additional motivation as to why they want to bring in an international hire. Basically, they need to prove that there's no one in the local market who can perform the job, which proves to be quite difficult. In instances where one doesn't necessarily need to be qualified is if one doesn't require sponsorship to work in the location. So, for example, if you hold a British passport or you are moving to the UK on a dependent visa with the right to work, then it could definitely be possible to secure a job without being fully qualified.
Brilliant. And it can also be other, not just chartered accountants, but sometimes ACCA, CPA that we've been able to help as well. Excellent. Okay. Somebody's put in the message they work in technology. What are the skill sets required? Could you just expand what you mean by technology? Is this like IT technology, IT audit? We're mainly accountancy advisors, so we know what's needed in accountancy and finance roles. But if it's IT audit, I can give you an answer on that. The with and especially they wanted to move to Ireland. Yeah, if you want to just confirm if that is your question, then we can clarify. Okay. So somebody's asked, I will do this one. What are the opportunities that are like to arise early 2025? I did have a slide on that. Maybe you missed that one, but the early in 2025, which is really now, the likely opportunities to arise. At the moment, we're working on opportunities in Australia and New Zealand across audit and advisory roles. We are working on some opportunities in the Netherlands. We're working on, and then just occasional opportunities, not as many as we will be in a few months' time, but there are some in the Caribbean, Bermuda, and other parts of Europe and the UK. So they do exist. I don't think I've missed any locations there. Yeah, sounds about right. Getting a nod from the team. So yeah, that's what's likely to arise. Okay. A new one then, Ty, do you have to speak the language of the country you are looking to move to, or is English acceptable in most countries?
English is acceptable in most countries. It definitely is a excuse me. It definitely is a big plus if you can speak their local language. I think the biggest thing is that you would need to just be cautious of, well, not cautious of, but bear in mind is that if you are going to a country where English isn't the first language, you might be a little bit limited to the clients that you would be exposed to. However, English is acceptable in most countries.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. The ones it can be slightly tougher is Germany and France, but we still get roles for English speakers in those occasionally as well. Places like the Netherlands, they're very happy with English. They love Afrikaans. So that can be a bonus if you speak Afrikaans. Okay. Alicia, do you consider applicants for chartered accountants from Nigeria?
Yes, we do. So we assist candidates from anywhere to anywhere in the world. And I think Abigail mentioned in her post, we have assisted over 140 different nationalities to over 160 different firms in 40 countries, I think. So, yes, we do assist candidates regardless of where you're coming from. I think, as Abigail also mentioned during her slides, it's just important to make sure that your skill set aligns with what is required for a specific vacancy in a specific country.
Brilliant. Thank you. More clarity on the IT role. It's IT software. We don't recruit for that ourselves. However, we do sometimes. IT seems to be another area that you can move internationally if you've got the right qualifications and skills. There are a recruitment agency called Head IT that do some international IT roles that you could have a look for. They're based in the UK. Yeah, so it really depends on your background, but I wouldn't be able to answer that because we are specialists in accountancy and we know what we're talking about with accountants, and I don't want to bluff. We'll only tell the truth of what we do know. Okay, all right. Ty, does all your job posts require Big Four experience?
No, not all of the jobs that we fulfill require Big Four experience. It just depends on what the firm is looking for at that time. Some firms prefer candidates coming from a smaller firm, just based on the culture and the type of clients you'd be exposed to. It really all just depends. But we hire both from Big Four, mid-tier, smaller, and boutique-like firms. It's not just to say that we prioritize all our clients prioritize people coming from a Big Four environment.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much for that. The next question is, how do I make an application to make a move? I'll be hitting 3 years experience in a few months. Fantastic. I'm going to just put into the chat our email addresses. For audit, I suggest you contact Alicia and Tyrone. You can choose who. And for the advisory roles, you can come to myself. So I'll put all our addresses up there for you. Um, so, can I be considered for the Australian New Zealand audit roles at this time of the year? Alicia.
Yes, so I would again say reach out to us with a copy of your CV in order to review. And then, if aligned with what we are working on at the moment, one of us will certainly schedule a call. And even if it's not aligned with what we are looking for right now, we can still set up a call to discuss perhaps potential other opportunities. So, yes, please do reach out to us.
Brilliant. Okay. So I think we've already answered the next one. Do employers prioritize the CA of South Africa over other ones like ICANN or CA Zimbabwe? Some do. Yeah, I will admit that some do feel that that is a stronger qualification. Others don't. It just depends on the experience they're wanting more than usually the qualification or where you sat that. It varies. Okay, alrighty. Um, as a follow-up to the chartered accountancy question, do they consider being legible as a chartered accountant? Considering the whole tedious process to register due to the process required to being performed being long, please do register as soon as you can. You need it for the visa purposes. So being eligible to visa to register, it will be accepted by some companies, but it can slow the process for them getting you on board. So if you can go ahead and start that process, please do. As you said, it's a long, tedious process that needs to happen before you can get that visa. Okay. The next one. When do audit senior roles typically become open? Well, we've got some at the moment, depending where you want to go, but we'll get a lot for Bermuda, Caribbean, UK, etc. We'll start stepping up after busy season, so April time onwards, for the busy seasons this time in the world. And that's probably why at the moment we're getting more in Australia because it's not their busy season right now. Okay, and there's a couple that have been in here as well. Hi, how can we find employers that will provide sponsorship? I'll go over to Tyrone for that one.
Provide sponsorship. So if you're wanting to know more about the sponsorship, again, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. Send us you can reach out to Abigail, Alicia, or myself, and we'll gladly cover that with you. Again, depending on the firm and the country where you want to apply to, I'd love to find out a little bit more about that, and we can have a chat about that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, alrighty. The next webinar isn't necessarily going to be on how to structure a CV, but it's going to be talking about how to stand out with experience and other methods. The CV structure is probably just a few months away. However, if you register with us, we will help with that structure, and we tailor every CV we send to companies. So when we speak to you, we ask all the right questions, and then when we make an application to an employer, we know what they're looking for, and we tailor it for that particular employer for you. So we're doing all of that structure there, and we can advise you also on your structure when we meet you, or if there's anything missing in that information. That's part of our job, and that's why it's good to come through us rather than going direct, because we know what the employers want. We'll also provide interview practices with you to go through a practice run of all the questions that they might ask you and help you with your research before you do an interview. Okay, I think we've already replied about do all our job posts require Big Four experience? The answer is no. Some people prefer non-Big Four. Another one, Alicia, how smooth is someone who is a Ghanaian but works in the UK in audit move to Australia?
Yes, I would say it could be as smooth as any other move. The experience that you have gained in the UK could definitely be beneficial. So I would say reach out to us to share your CV, and we can definitely set up a call to further discuss.
Brilliant. Thank you. Tyrone, are there locations that focus more on the non-financial services sector?
I think each region has its financial services and non-financial services sectors. Um, yeah, like it's every location has its financial services and non-financial services sectors. I wouldn't say that there's one where, it's only non-financial services. Obviously, like Abigail mentioned earlier on in the presentation, locations such as the Caribbean, Bermuda, those are more financial services driven. So typically you'll find a lot of financial services there. Places like Luxembourg, again, specializing in funds, Germany or Switzerland rather. Also, again, lots of financial services there. But it's not to say that there aren't any non-financial services opportunities there. Um, yeah, I think it's pretty equal across the board.
Okay. If you haven't got financial services, you might want to think of locations such as Australia, New Zealand. They definitely have a lot of opportunities for non-financial services as well. The Netherlands definitely does. And then the occasional ones, very occasional, come up in Bermuda and the Caribbean. Sorry, Bermuda and the Cayman, but the smaller islands, we definitely get opportunities for non-financial services experience. And we also get it, yeah, Switzerland will cover that, and occasionally in Luxembourg. So yeah, there is that, but sometimes there's more demand just because there can be multiple roles for people with financial services specialisms. Insurance has been hot for the last few years. So if you've got insurance experience, we'd love to hear from you. Um, so does Australia take people who still have their last CA board exam pending, possibly for audit senior roles? Rarely, but it has been known. They prefer to have the qualification, but that they have been known to take people. The only problem is that you won't be able to take that. To my knowledge, you won't be able to take that exam when you're in Australia, so you'd have to go back for it to finish. And we do encourage everybody, if you're part qualified at the moment, do qualify because it is like getting a ticket to go anywhere in the world. And even if you feel like right now you want to go to a location that doesn't mind if you're qualified or not, in the future you might want to. So it's worth finishing. You've done all the hard slog to get to where you are now. Okay. Um, Here's a good one. Let's share. Can people typically work in non-financial, who have work experience in non-financial services, get financial services audit positions?
It is possible, yes. We have partnered with companies in the past and currently who say that they are willing to consider people coming from a non-financial services background for a financial services role. However, it's important to note that this is not the case for every single financial services opportunity, and it would also vary from employer to employer and also from location to location. But we will definitely be able to advise when we are in contact with you which type of locations or companies can consider this.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I've got another one here. Are there audit senior roles for people who haven't yet taken the APC board too, in Australia specifically at the moment? To my knowledge, there are not any in Australia right now for part qualified. Am I right, guys? Yeah, not right
Yes.
now. They have come up in the past, but not right now. Also, though, part of this question said, or do they only employ for assistant manager level? I should say to anybody in South Africa, you guys tend to get promoted much earlier than anybody else would in the world. So a recently qualified auditor in many parts of the world are still termed as audit seniors or supervisors. Um, it's something to consider when you move. It's very likely that your job title won't be assistant manager or manager if you've only got 3 to 5 years experience. Maybe from 5 years upwards, you might just about be able to get the manager level. But in whole, when companies take you from overseas, they know that you've got a bit of a learning curve to learn the local way of doing things. And so they don't tend to jump at employing somebody at that higher level and set you up to fail. They want to set you up to succeed. And if the people below you know more about it than you, then they're going to run circles. Okay, we've got time for just the two last questions now. which of the Big Four in Australia do you have contact with for audit senior roles? Big Four in Australia is really quiet at the moment from an audit senior roles. If you look at the press, there's been a lot of layoffs. There's also been a lot of people jumping ship from the Big Four. So we work with them, but right now it's very quiet there with the Big Four. So, consider some of the strong medium tier firms. They're doing pretty well and they're picking up a lot of business from the Big Four right now. Okay, and last one, as a recently qualified CA Zimbabwe with all paperwork in place, what steps do you advise take to get an international opportunities? Apply to us, send your CV, and we can let you know if there's something available for you right now. Don't be disappointed if there isn't. It depends on your background, your experience, because as the year moves on, the positions will hot up and there will be other things. Sometimes being patient is the best way to do it. Yeah. Listen, I hope you've all had a good session today. I hope you enjoyed the information I've imparted to you earlier on and the Q&A section. We've given you an extra 4 minutes, I believe, and just on that Q&A section because there was so much there. But it's been lovely having everybody along as usual. Please do remember and take note of our next webinars that are coming up. And you will get an email most likely to tell you where to register and how to register, or you'll find it on Eventbrite like you found this one. Follow us on Eventbrite and you will see them as they all pop up. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day immensely.